I guess that would work for the Droid too, or
Yes, it works
so
for
you just
mobile
send it to the
devices.
address.
Okay, if you actually look for on the marketplace on the Android or the iTunes or the iTunes on the iPhone, there's a ePrint app, and there's also a one. There's also a similar app from HP for the home, the version. I'll see if I can find it and I'll bring it to the show next week. But it's pretty neat. It's just for a corporation with sensitive data flying back and forth. Um, we probably want to go with the internal server hosted solution, which we wouldn't. It's not a within this show subject matter, but I mean it's pretty neat. So again, AirPrint for printers that already have that built in. If you just want to do it at home, or if you got a small office with a few people, and if you got a large office with 50 people, and then ePrint would be the way to go. So
Yes. In fact, I have to go. One of the clients that had these printers bought a second one that I have to go set up. I may try and look at the email thing just because I want to see if it works.
okay, and I will tell you that I have two printers that are identical model, and the Q name or the name that it broadcasts are both the same. And I asked the HP rep, I said, well, I can't. I changed the name within the web configuration, but it still says it. He recommended I look at the Bonjour and
Okay.
and change it there. So I'm gonna try that tomorrow and see if that resolves the issue because our network we have several floors, so you can't be sending a print job and go where did it go? So
That's part of the fun.
now that's part. Like, do you want to burn calories?
Uh,
Send a print job.
yeah, that's these are tangents, but the printer pooling. You've done printer pooling before? That's where you can install the same printer. For those listening, you have like 10 LaserJet 4s, and you can they're in there's the concept is they're supposed to be in the same room, like a room that has a bunch of printers. So you can install a printer pool, and they see one printer, and it prints to one of those printers. That's the concept. But I love it when I go to places and they have printer pools, and their printers are all over the place.
Yes, because
Because
then
and yeah,
because
it's
then
pretty funny.
it suddenly becomes guess where my print job is. Then of course you have where a user Bob will print one page, but he'll grab the whole stack, and then the guy never finds
Right.
his print job.
Or somebody will print something, and then a second later print something else, and they go to different printers across the different parts of the office.
Yeah, printing is a interesting solution. Now, with a small business, I imagine you only have one or two or a few. In a larger corporation, when you have a couple hundred, then you get into the naming convention, and it becomes very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The most I've seen was I think they had 10 and they spread them out. That's pretty funny.
sweet.
The network IT guy thought it was neat to do printer pooling. Only saw one printer, but he wasn't the one printing.
Yeah,
So one of the things that when we took over this company, they wanted me to look at that. They said when I print, it just prints randomly to certain printers. So that's what I found. And I said, well, here's what happened. Here's why it happened. They said it'd
yeah,
been away for years.
and that's weird. Again, what Matt is describing, a printer pooling, you have a printer with 10 printers. They all are the identical model, and I believe they have to be the same driver. I forget.
Yeah, well,
I forget, but so then if you have a bunch of people printing, it'll go to it does low balancing, but it's not really low balancing, but it prints to the next available the printer. So again, like Matt's saying, on in the same room, great concept. You just go to the printer that spits out the page, and you're good to go.
yeah, something small businesses rarely need.
Right.
But this is a case where they had an IT person. I think he was just playing around and saw it, and he wanted to implement it, and he did. And I see that a lot with places that have full-time IT. When they don't really need full-time IT, they try and uh, take on little projects and experiments, and this is the kind of thing that happens.
Sweet.
Um, Speaking of who I was thinking about, um, this is a short thing that happened. That happened this week, and it kind of bugs me. Um, a client is having a problem. The print spooler keeps crashing on one of the servers, but they don't want to spend time to troubleshoot the problem. They want it working now. And I've explained to them it's going to take a little troubleshooting to figure out what the problem is. Now, I think I know what the problem is, but I need to test it. And the user's out of state. It's a terminal server. The user's out of state. He's in and out of the office constantly. He doesn't want to test anything. I'm certainly not going to drive 4 hours to Houston. Um, so the bottom line is they just want this fixed when it happens. So the print spooler crashes. It's a terminal server. And what happens? All the printers disappear for everybody connected because the print spooler stopped.
Right.
And so this affects so many people. They want it working. And the problem is, I said, well, look, I have a workaround while I'm researching this error, but I'm still going to have to work with who I suspect is causing the problem to give it a fix. And the workaround that I did, I just created a simple little batch file, and all it does is stop the print spooler service if it's not stopped already. Delete the contents of the print spool folder, which is Windows System 32 spool printers.
Right.
Deletes the contents of that, and then it starts the print spooler service again. And I put this in the services. If you go to a specific service and you go to the properties of it, you'll see a recovery tab.
Yes.
And they have first failure, second failure, third failure. Normally they're set to take no action. Um, the way it's set now is the first time it's restart the service, the second time is run a program, and I just pointed it to the batch file. So now if the print spooler crashes, it'll start again. If it fails, it'll stop, clear the queues, start it, and this should be fixed.
Which
Because
is
what's happened, yeah,
brilliant. Which is brilliant on your end. It's a band-aid, right?
it is a band-aid,
Right.
and that's to get them working while I'm trying to fix the problem. It's not meant as a solution, but they consider it a solution. I said, okay, well, get with this guy now, and he says, no, no, it's working fine now. Well, it's not working fine because it's still crashing. So we need to find a fix. But
Right.
if they don't want to spend the money to fix it, there's nothing I can do because really, I'm not running a charity. I'm not gonna do any research and try and figure out what their problem is if they don't want to pay for it.
Nope, I agree, and that's no different than if my, God forbid, my engine is knocking. I take it to the mechanic and say, "Well, you ain't knock anymore." Yeah, but it's still blowing fumes in the back. Oh, it's working now. Thanks.
Yeah. So, and the problem is, you can see in that spooler System 32 spool printers folder, they have stuff in there. Usually SPL file or SHD file, whatever they are, the print spool files. They're just hung in there.
Right.
So if you clear the bad job out, it'll work again until whoever caused the problem sends the print job again.
And
And
you know what
that's
what I always wanted to do, which I never did, but just something I would think I was bored. I wanted to create a rule within my Outlook client because my PC was beyond at work and say, okay, if I email myself something with a subject matter, like, a 1, 2, 3 or start print a spooler, it run a batch file that restarts that print spooler
hmm,
like it was magic. And I always wanted to do that, but there were easier ways, like you stated,
yeah.
do the recovery tab. But I just thought it'd be kind of neat if someone had called me up, say, hey, I can print. Done deal. Let's try now. How did you do that?
So yeah, I'm sure there's ways to do something remotely. But again, I'm hoping that leaving the first one as restart, the second one from the program
Yeah, that should
is,
do
is
it.
gonna
But
is gonna work for them. But we'll see. But they don't want to fix it, and it just drives me crazy because if I went behind, and this is what happens, like I've said before, if when we go behind somebody else who's been doing IT work for a company, some of the things you might see over there are not the fault of the previous IT. They could be the fault of the company themselves not wanting to fix it.
no, sure. I agree. I agree. And I had a friend that walked into a job opportunity, and this place had no backups, none whatsoever. No tapes. No. They had an old version of backup exec, and you know, first thought is blame the other IT guy for being like a slacker. Come to find out, he's fighting the same battle that the other guy had. They
Hmm.
just will not spend any money to implement a new backup solution.
Right. Now, for some reason what I see is they're more likely to listen to the person they brought in to replace the previous person. I might make the same recommendation the other person made, but they'll go with my recommendation.
That is true.
Or if somebody replaces me, they'll go with them. It's just that's how it is. I guess if they bring two separate people in, they both make the same recommendation, they'll just let them do it.
I agree, and I can see Matt now. The first thing we're doing is applying service pack 3 to his change before I talk to anybody else.
All the updates, that's right. And that's just an example of workarounds. Sometimes I do workarounds for other things, and sometimes I don't want to do a workaround because I don't want them to think it's fixed. But in this case, it affected quite a few people. They, from different states connected into the server, they needed to be able to print while I was searching for a solution. But like the workaround I talked about last week about the backup exec, stopping those services when the
Yes.
backup's not running,
Hmm.
they consider it fixed. And it drives me up a wall, really, because I know it's not. And if
Now,
anybody would go behind me, they say, what joker did this? What is this
now,
batch file running?
now, when you talk to the client, how do you present it? Like, do you say, okay, you're working for now until I can figure it out, or
Yeah, I tell them I'm gonna implement this workaround. The workaround will, instead of us connecting and manually clearing the files and restarting the print spooler, it does it automatically. But it's still an issue. It's still crashing. Print jobs may still be hung up or lost, but this is a workaround.
okay,
And I make clear it's a workaround that it's still
good,
crashing, but it's restarting automatically because of the workaround.
okay.
But workaround fix, what's the difference to them?
I can print with my iPad.
Yeah, right. They can print but I could see if anybody went behind me and they saw that, what is this?
Oh, no, I agree. I agree.
Now sometimes I'll email that to people because I have a little batch file. Sometimes they'll call me and say, look, I can't print. I know what the problem is. It happens once in a while. I'll just either email in the batch file, say save it and run it and see if it works for you. But I tell them if this happens a lot, it happened once. I'm going to send this file. If you run it, you can print. That's good. If it keeps happening, you need to call me back because something else is going on. I'm not going to troubleshoot, and they don't want me to troubleshoot the print spooler stopping once every 5 months.
No, I definitely agree. And I run into this a situation where I go see a client and I sit in front of their PC and they'll drink their cup of coffee or their soda or pop or I fix it and they see, oh, you resolved the issue. No, I just made it work for now, but I'm still looking at it. But in their eyes, the problem is fixed and they're wondering, what are you still doing at my desk? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the joys, but it's fun.
Yep.
I like to find workarounds that work just to see if I can sometimes. But that's only if the fix is not evident and I really need to get them back working. Um, Now, another thing I've seen recently, we haven't been having historically a lot of spyware virus infections for my clients. This past couple of weeks, we've had a lot more than usual
Okay.
with this antivirus 20, I forget what it's called, but it's kind of annoying. Um, and we all know the removal tools, the cleaning tools. We're not going to go over that per se. Malware bytes, super NS spyware, the hijack. There's all those tools. But sometimes when you're completely done, some things don't work. And what I've seen a lot recently is after you're done completely cleaning everything, you can't get online. Everything else works fine. Can't get online.
Now, when you say you can't get aligned, can you ping Google.com, do a trace route?
No, you're not getting an IP address at all.
Okay.
And at that point, I found one thing. WinSock fix, sometimes that works. Most of the time it doesn't in this case. But the one thing I found that's worked every time, I think I've tried it. I've used this the past 4 or 5 times. System file checker. SFC scans all that files and it has found and replaced whatever files were corrupted, deleted, altered, whatever. After that system file check runs and reboots, I'm able to get online.